Some things I just don't understand. For an instance, European allies have pledged more than $1 billion to buy US made weapons for Kiev. That means, according to uh, AI Perplexity, my buddy, NATO launches new arms procurement initiative with €1 billion funding. Okay, so the Europeans are supporting Kyiv by buying $1 billion of US weapons. That's great. But at the same time, again, thanks to my buddy Perplexity AI, the total value of Russian imports into the European Union in 2025 is estimated to be around 8.74 billion euros, which is about 10.11 billion dollars for the first quarter of 2025 alone. So this is what's happening with the European Union. The European Union is helping Ukraine to buy US weapons, and at the same time, they're still buying and importing stuff from Russia. And by stuff, I mean, let's say for the full year of 2024, imports from Russia into the EU are about 36.29 billion, mainly comprised of mineral fuels, oil, distillation products, iron and steel, fertilizer, and other commodities. So whose side are you on, EU? Are you on the side of Kiev, or are you on the side of Russia? Because you're still buying billions and billions of dollars. I mean, almost $9 billion for the first quarter of 25 alone. I mean, maybe that's not a lot compared to prior, but I would say if you're the EU and you have this big talk of President Macron and all the big mouth guys from the EU and the European governments, why do you still spend billions of dollars buying stuff from Russia? Why? And at the same time, you're supplying Kyiv with weapons and money. So I'm either stupid, or either you're stupid. And I'm not sure who is more stupid over here, because there's definitely a possibility that I'm very stupid. I'm not gonna deny that. But it just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, if you're fighting someone, won't you be, I don't know. So that's one thing, and I'm wondering what's behind it. I mean, I assume that the European Union it's just going to collapse if it's just not going to buy this stuff from Russia, because I don't see any other explanation to that. But at the same time, I'm sure you can buy this stuff from other. I don't know. You just maybe you don't want to pay more for this stuff, for those materials, those fuels and the iron and steel and oils, and then you're like, okay, I'm still going to buy it from Russia. I don't know. It doesn't add up to me. It doesn't add up. I think this whole war is somebody is behind the scene in the Western world, because I'm pretty sure that Putin got his game tight, and he has the plan going on. I mean, I don't know. Every time, I'm not a pro Putin guy, but I would say he's still hanging in there. Maybe he's not really advancing much, but he's hanging in there. I mean, he has time, he has patience, he's doing what he's doing. He's ganging up with Iran, he's ganging up with North Korea, he's ganging up with China, he's ganging up with India, with South America. I mean, he's doing this job for years, and that's one of the things and the advantages those dictators have over Western society, so-called democracies, which this is a different discussion, because I don't think the European democracies, I don't believe that they represent really the voice of the people. Um, because what's happening is, even if the majority of the people, based on like numbers, have one opinion, which in today's newspapers or whatever outlet media they called far right. An example is Austria and Germany. The right parties, the FPO and FPD, I mean, at least in Austria, it's a majority. It's the number one country in the latest elections, or a few months ago, and still they're not in charge of the country. They're not in government, because how the so-called democracy structured in those countries. And yeah, that's about that. So those dictators, they have advantage because they are, let's say I am company one and you're company two, and then you have, let's say, a CEO, and he might not be the best CEO, but he's doing the job. I mean, he's been doing the same job of CEO for the last, let's say, 30 years. So he already knows the in and out, while the other company changes the CEO every 2 years, every 3 years, every 4 years, and every time it changes from this side to that side. So I suspect that those dictators might have some advantage, that at least they're not in stress by the system. They're like, okay, I'm going to wait another 3 years. I'm going to wait another 4 years. While the West is like, okay, we gotta make sure everybody's happy, and now I only have 4 years to do what I want to do, and steal all the money that I can and move forward. So I'm just going to bullshit everybody. I'm not going to do anything. So I'm just saying, it's a different system. It's like one person has some kind of advantage, and I believe that the dictators might have some advantage over here. I'm not, again, I might be stupid, but the EU also might be stupid, because the way of the things that's happening in the EU right now, I don't know. It's kind of like a joke, and I'm talking about the tariffs, that the Trump deal tariffs with Ursula von der Leyen, is kind of like, to me, basically, I mean, he basically took Europe and cleaned the floor with it, and then now he's doing the same thing to Switzerland with the 39% tariffs, and the Swiss are like all over the place. It's just funny to me what's happening. I mean, I don't know. The EU was once a great place. I remember the first time I was out of my country, abroad. I grew up in a 20,000 people little town, surrounded by smaller, like, I don't know, villages, and to get to the next bigger town was maybe like 1 hour, 2 hours, or whatever, or like 3 hours. So I grew up in a very small town on the countryside, and I remember the first time. And by the way, I grew up in Israel, so Israel in the 80s and the early 90s, it was a different country than what it is right now. I mean, we had only one channel on the TV, and um, until I was like in my mid-teens, and it was not there was not all that high-tech thing going on. And I don't know if life was better or not, but it was a more of a socialistic kind of place. And with much modest means and than it is right now. But that's that's a different again. That's not the topic right now. What I'm trying to say is, I remember the first time I, or maybe the second time I was out of the country, and I arrived in Zurich in Switzerland, and I thought I'm in a science fiction movie because from the moment from the moment I landed at the airport, I I saw things that I never saw in my life, and everything was clean, quiet, beautiful, smelled good, luxurious. I mean, I was amazed, and I took the train. I went to sleep 2 nights at a youth hostel in Zurich, and I remember taking the train, and I couldn't believe I couldn't believe. First of all, I can probably count the times I've been on a train, but it's just like this quick train from the airport to the city. And first of all, it was so quiet, and everything was so clean and organized. And I remember like looking from the window, I was like, I could not believe it. I felt like I'm in a science fiction movie. I'm somewhere in the future. It's just it's just the differences in the general, like infrastructure wise, and the way people were around me, the way they dressed and everything. And at the same time, later on, I've been to Vienna, and I don't remember the same impression, but I remember like similar impression, like being surrounded by in Vienna, like in the uh, inner stadt, in the middle, in the center, and by all these beautiful, by this beautiful history, and everybody, just the way the people were, and like the way they were dressed. And I remember, wow, like where the hell have I been? For like I was like in my early 20s, like it was just like I only saw this stuff on TV, and and now, after living in the US for like I don't know, like 20 years, I went back to both states, to both Stadt, I wanted to say, to both cities, and I felt like I'm in. I wanted to check if there was no mistake, and my flight accidentally landed in Saudi Arabia. I mean, no disrespect to Saudi Arabia or Turkey, and not because there's nothing anything bad. I've never been to those countries. I can't say anything bad. It's just it was full of Muslims, and not of the type that is on the down low Muslim. And they were like with the whole, many of them with the whole thing going on, with the whole traditional clothing of whatever country they came from, because each one has its own uniform and hats and all that kind of, but you can see that they're not native to those lands, and I did not remember seeing them before, and then I was like, wow, Europe has changed. I mean, what happened in Europe? I've been away for 20 years. I mean, from those two cities, and something has changed. I mean, it's just been like crazy. So at the same time that I'm kind of like, I'm not surprised that the EU is still importing billions of euros worth of stuff, raw materials from Russia, and at the same time the EU is like leading a war against Russia, basically, and loudly speaking against Russia, and it's just, for me, that's it just shows you that it's all those politicians, they're just big mouth, they're just potty mouth, they're just standing there and talking, and they're bashing everybody and putting this and putting that, and then at the end of the day they're propagating the war, but still buying from Russia. They're still buying stuff from Russia, and then they're propagating the war. They're buying all those weapons for the Ukraine, but they're not going to war. They don't care. So what the hell? They're using the Ukraine as a shield against Russia because they effed up. They should not have. Excuse me. They should not have said that they wanna make Ukraine part of the EU and part of NATO, because that, if I'm not mistaken, that was part of a previous deal that has been made with Russia. And I'm not supporting Putin, but I'm not saying, I mean, why did you let sleeping dogs lie? Why did you have to mess up and Obama also with his big mouth, and Obama has a big mouth also with Putin, and Obama also has a big mouth with Trump. I mean, he's a big full mouth, and I remember that the way he spoke about Trump. Oh, you'll never be the president of the United States, and now we got Trump as the president of the United States twice. So those world leaders, they gotta be very careful. You gotta be very careful with what you're saying. I mean, sometimes they stand over there and they talk and they feel like they can say whatever they want, and they need to understand that whatever they say has major implications, and they gotta be like, if I was the leader of any of those countries, I would probably think 100 times before I say anything, because anything you say out of it, anything you go and stand and you say it out there has major implications that you might sometimes not even think of. And I believe those people, they don't worth the responsibility that they have. They're just a bunch of, I think they're a bunch of babies in many senses, and their egos are overexploded, and many times they did not have the education for the job they're doing. Let's say he's a foreign minister, but they have no education or experience in foreign relations. I'm just giving an example. Or economy. They have no, like, if you, because any company, any publicly traded company, if you want to be an economist or an accountant, you need to go to school. You got to bring your CV and say you prove that you have experience. Okay, I worked here, I did the same job or a job that is before that. And in politics, no, you can be just a guy off the street that has been groomed by a woman more like older than you, like 25 years or whatever. And okay, and then you become like the president of a country, of a whole country that has a very strong army and has access to atomic bombs, and you just stand there and you say stuff, and those people, they don't even have I believe, the proper training to be what they are. Maybe they can be like, say, run a city or run a town, okay, but the same implications, they're not the same when you deal with countries. So for all those people to just behave like that and then go and buy from Russia all those billions of dollars and then buy the weapons for the US, what are you doing exactly? You're the man in the middle who's buying and selling and buying and selling. I don't know, possibly, but that's to me horrible. And I mean, I know many people say, even though I live in Europe right now, I hear many people are saying like, wow, what's happening in Europe? It's horrible. Europe is in decline. I mean, honestly, I don't care if Europe is in decline. They're having it. They deserve it. I mean, they, hai volato la bicicletta, adesso pedala. They say in Italian, You wanted the bicycle, and now you pedal. You wanted the European Union, you wanted the migrants, you wanted open borders, you wanted the Ukraine. Okay, now have fun, now pedal. Now deal with it, because, I don't think you're going to deal with it. I think the European Union is going to be in a very, very bad place, and I don't think it's going to end up well. So I don't know where I started, but this is where I'm going to end. And I think that's it for now.